Alaykum guys. Welcome to Spill with MIL&DIL.
Episode 6. I can't believe I keep saying this.
Yeah.
6 weeks we've been doing this, which is really, really good. And we've just come off live actually, and loads of people said they love the podcast. So thank you to those of you who are just watching our live and saying. One person actually said they were stuck in traffic and they listened to it on Spotify. So if you haven't already, follow us on Spotify as well and give us a rating. So yeah, if you are stuck in traffic, we can keep you company.
And we really appreciate that you are supporting us in this, and inshallah we can carry on with your more support.
Yeah, I know. It is crazy. Anyway, let's see what our Islamic reminder is for today.
They're all good actually.
Yeah, I do like them.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one says, one should begin to see everything beautifully as only a reflection of God's beauty. You will learn to love in the right way. I like that.
That's nice.
Because it's also about knowing that's good, because it's also saying about learning to love yourself as well, because Allah's made us all beautiful.
Right.
We're Allah's creation. So we shouldn't be saying, oh, I look really bad today, or I'm so ugly, or anything like that.
You know, these are, we don't even, unknowingly we say these wrong words actually, because we are creation of Almighty Allah.
Exactly.
So we shouldn't be saying this.
And I was watching something, I was on TikTok, there was this video of 5 haram things that you shouldn't say. And one of them is making fun of short people. One of them is using the word ugly, which is why I just remembered this one. And there's another one. There's a few, I can't remember them all. Yeah. But it's all about basically the way you are, and we can't change if we're short or if we're really tall or if we're fat or if we're skinny. Like, that's just how Allah has created us. Obviously, some people put on lots of weight because of like depression or
lots of reasons
whatever
for that, and
but we should never say, oh, that person's ugly, or because that's bad of us, and it's good now, isn't it, to say things like that.
That's right.
So yeah, I like that one. I'll keep it out for when we do. It's at the end. Okay, right, let's pick. Do you want to pick one?
Now these are your given topics. We are going to pick one.
See what we got. Divorce. Oh, I can't relate. I can't relate to this. But it happens a lot, actually. Divorce happens so much. Actually, not just in our culture. It happens everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
Like I know people who are non-Muslims and they've got married 3 times because the relationship don't work. But I think it's a sensitive subject in our culture, because if you're divorced and nobody wants to marry you again, people see it like that, like, oh, I have to stay in this relationship regardless if they're being like this, because family, politics, others will judge, and then they won't like, especially for girls. I think for men it's not.
It's for men as well, but they don't take it as serious this, because obviously it's more for the ladies, and also in our generation it was less, and now it's getting more and more, because obviously one, there's a lot of issues. Second, that they don't have as much patience. The
new generation,
and they straight away, if they see that this is not working, that's it. They come to end.
But I think sometimes, and a lot of people, I mean, this is not to everyone, but those younger generations who are going through a divorce, they've probably seen only divorce in their family, so they don't actually know how to be in a relationship. And also in this generation and things like that, obviously we've been told our whole life we're not allowed to have boyfriends, we're not allowed to have this, we don't do anything like that, we can't build relationships. Then suddenly you're in a marriage, and then you don't know how to be in a relationship with somebody, or for example, if they leave their socks on the floor, it's not the end of the world, but they're not used to that because they've not been a customized
some places you can when you hear that divorce happened, and if you try to find out the reason, they are really silly basic reasons why this happened. But I would explain a little bit about my generation, why it wasn't as bad as then. One, we were more patient and trying to look for, to work it out, however. And also, मैं थोड़ा सा उर्दू में बताऊंगी कि हमारी जनरेशन में ये होता था कि हमारे एल्डर्स जो हैं वो ट्राई करते थे कि बात बढ़े नहीं, तो एक दूसरे को समझा देते थे, दोनों पार्टीज को समझा देते थे, हस्बैंड को, हाँ, बीवी को, दोनों को, के मतलब वर्कआउट करने के लिए, एंड वो लिसन भी कर लेते थे. लेकिन now these days this generation have less patience, and also these little issues which they don't want to face. We was facing it because we could, and we had suffered a little bit more than you guys. But now there are a lot of reasons where they are quite bad reasons where you shouldn't be going and working out abuse and mental abuse and physical abuse, where you shouldn't be obviously dealing with that, and that's why this happened. But there are, I've seen, and I know that, I've heard a lot of that where there wasn't as bad as that, why that happened. So
I think also probably I'm talking from our generation, maybe for them it's silly things, or for you guys it might be silly things, but in that person's mind it's a big thing because they've been so used to their mum and dad giving them everything that they wanted in life, and they've said, you shouldn't I'm just giving an example, like, say for example, my dad, he's treated me like a princess my whole life, so if he didn't treat me like that, it would affect
you.
But to you it might be like, it doesn't matter if he doesn't do that. But to me, my dad has treated me like that my whole life. So all I know is someone is a dad, and my brothers as well, not just my dad, my brothers treat me like, obviously we have our arguments and, fights and things, but my brothers, if I said to my brother, can I borrow some money to go, he would never expect me to pay him back. It would just, things like that. I'm just giving an example. So if Nafis didn't do those things, then to me, I'm like, well, of course I don't want to be with a man like that, because my dad and my brothers treated me like this. But to you, it might be like, oh, it doesn't matter if he's not tying your shoes.
Or,
whatever it is.
As much, helping out with the home stuff and things like that. These little things.
Because you've got to think how they've been treated, like us, our generation, if our parents have treated us. Like, say, for example, you treated Nafis in such a way, and I didn't give him the same love you gave him, he's going to say, well, that's not fair. My mum has put me on this pedestal, and she's
and not... also because obviously we say that, zulm सहना भी जो है वो गलत है. तो अगर आप treated ऐसे wrong हो रहे हो in the relationship, like by in-laws or by your husband, then you can't carry on. That's why this happens. But it is bad thing is the, what we don't like, and even most thing that Allah doesn't like. Only the divorce thing, talaq ko Allah pasand nahi karta. That's why it shouldn't happen. And wherever also you can...
If it's obviously I know Allah doesn't like it, but then if it is a situation where that person mentally can't handle
That's
it.
That's why मैंने बोला ना कि जुल्म है ना. अगर आप पे जुल्म हो रहा है तो फिर सिर्फ इसलिए कि अल्लाह को ये चीज पसंद नहीं. Yes, it's true. अल्लाह को पसंद नहीं, अल्लाह को ये भी पसंद नहीं है कि आप जुल्म करो. तो दोनों को मतलब करना पड़ता है ना कि क्या आप अल्लाह की रजा के लिए उसको उतने जुल्म को सह सकते हो जितना अल्लाह को पसंद है कि आप जुल्म सह लो. अगर आप जुल्म वो नहीं सह सकते तो फिर आप ज़ाहिर वो भी आप अल्लाह के लिए ही कर रहे हो कि आप जुल्म नहीं सहना चाहते, नहीं सह सकते, तो फिर वो ये होता है मामला. लेकिन ज़ाहिर ये बहुत ज़्यादा हो रहा है everywhere in all cultures.
And I think also it happens a lot, like for example again in our generation, 6-7 months down the line they're getting divorced because again and obviously I understand in Islam we don't do these certain things, But at the same time, it's like if they've not got to know each other before the marriage, even just for 6 months, let's just say, even if it's just like, for example, we went to each other's houses, we spoke, it was all done in a halal way, as in you knew.
And also it's from God as well, is in Islam as well, that we should allow our children to be
but there's a
happy
lot of relationships where it's not.
Yeah,
so
that's
they know
right.
each other for 3 weeks, maybe a month, and then they get married, and then they've suddenly got to live with this person who they don't know. They don't even know their favorite
It's
color.
true, but there is other reason as well, that if they still be successful even without knowing each other, but there is that from God guide them to be patient and be listening to each other and having the good relationship. So that works as well. But it's true that if you get to know with both families as well, and the boy and girl as well, then it can happen.
Because I think also if you only find out once you start living with them that actually I don't like that about that person, but you didn't know that before, automatically you're not gonna, like, say for example I didn't know Nafis and 2 weeks later we got married and he did something I really didn't like, or I did something that he doesn't like in a relationship, automatically we're both gonna not want to try, because we already said in our mind this is not the person I want to be with. If they, I don't know,
and that will give you more negativity to
and then it makes it harder. But they're already stuck in their marriage, and then they're thinking I can't get out because it's bad. It's it's not supposed to happen. But they didn't get the chance to. Some parents make it happen straight away. That it doesn't then allow those, especially if they're younger, our generation. I mean my generation, but there's people who are younger than me, age of 20, 21, getting married. They're still learning about themselves. The boy as well, both girl and boy are still learning about themselves, what they like, what they don't like, what they can tolerate, what they can't tolerate, to then be thrown into a marriage, and then 6 months later they're divorced. To the older generation or to friends and family, it might look like really silly, but you've got to think that person's been thrown into a marriage that they don't even know the person. And yes, they could have patience and they could have everything in the world that they should have, but it could be that actually they just don't like the person because they're not meeting their expectations. Yeah. If you have a certain expectation, and everyone's allowed that, you have a certain expectation of how you want your son and daughter to be, how you want me to be, how you want your family to treat you. So going into marriage, you're going to expect your husband to cook, clean, help around the house, take you out on dates, or whatever it is. And the same with the husband, he's going to have expectations from his wife. But if they're not following them, if they're not meeting those expectations, automatically they're going to say, well, this is not what I want.
And also that's why we've been talking about this, that, it should work and balance the relationship, whichever is. It's not just the husband and wife, but whichever relationship you are in, you should balance it and give time and keep communication, stay positive, and don't pick on little things for each other. And
if it's like they've thrown their socks on the floor, that's not a big deal.
That's right.
But then it could be that that person might have something that they really can't stand, that they're a clean freak. Okay, so they're a clean freak, and actually them throwing, like, for example,
but the other person should understand that the other partner is not liking this. That's why we tell them they should know the likes and dislikes, and they should compromise with, like, if, for example, like you saying, throwing the socks, if the person's habit is that, and the other person can't deal with it, then that person should change the habit. And if the other person who is seeing that this is his habit and they can deal with it, with his this little habit, then it should be okay. It shouldn't be.
But I think it starts from that.
It's both.
It is both, and it starts from that. For example, it could be them leaving their socks, and then later it'll be leaving their towel. And for whoever it is that doesn't like it, it starts to build and build and build.
That's right.
Then they are having, I told you not to throw it on the floor. Why are you doing it? And they go, it's not a big deal. Like, I'll pick it up fine, and then it just carries on, and then it actually then later becomes a big issue.
Yeah,
so
but
it starts off
these
with
little things. If you stop doing those things and not to hurt other person or annoy the other person, if somebody is getting irritated for something, you should stop.
Yeah,
and it's no hard to accept that, and it's not hard to change that habit. These little habits which you both can get annoyed from each other. They should be dealing in positive way and listening to each other and trying to not to do those things what other person doesn't like. And that's how you can build your relationship in positive way, and divorce doesn't happen. But on the other hand, I would say that if somebody is treating you really bad, and even his in-laws or the husband, then and it's gonna destroy your life, and it's gonna affect you mentally or physically, then please do take care of yourself and try to find the solution to resolve this. And if you can't resolve it, then whatever.
Because at the end of the day, Allah's testing you in that situation. That yes, maybe it might be hard. You might be going through a rough patch, because again, relationships are never up. They're not always up. You're always going to have downs and ups and downs and up. It's a roller coaster. Some weeks and months you might be really low in your relationship, and then you might have a whole year where you're really good. But I think that's where a lot of our generation, where they have a few 3-4 months rough patch, and they think that's it. It's not going to ever fix, and then not wait until, because yes, they always say, well, even if there's a bad time, there's good will come in the end. You just have to keep trying. But it depends on the situation.
मेरा belief इस पे है कि कभी हमेशा खुशी नहीं आती, खुशी नहीं मिलती, और कभी हमेशा आपको सैडनेस नहीं मिलती. तो ये बैलेंस अल्लाह ताला की ज़ात ने रखा हुआ है इंसान की लाइफ में, कि अल्लाह टेस्ट करता रहता है. कभी बहुत ज्यादा खुशियां दे के अल्लाह ताला टेस्ट करता है, और कभी बहुत ज्यादा परेशानियां और मुश्किलात में डाल के टेस्ट करता है कि आप खुशियों के मामले में हाउ डिड यू हैंडल दोस हैप्पीनेस, and how did you handle the tests God given you for the life. So ये दोनों चीजें ज़हन में रखनी चाहिए कि ये होता है. लेकिन अगेन कि अगर ज्यादा कोई मामला बिगड़ता है तो you can't destroy your life, and you can't
of course,
लेकिन ये है कि ये जरूर ज़हन में रखें कि ये नहीं कि 1-2 दिन आपका कोई झगड़ा किसी मामले में चला है तो like you saying if you had 2-3 months and only for a couple of weeks you've been unsettled with each other, then that doesn't mean that divorce should happen.
No.
You should try, and
but I think there is a limit though. If they're doing it repeatedly, whoever it is, for a good 2 years, a year I would say, they're still 1 minute they're fine, next minute they're bad, and it's repeating, then I think then it's like
you need to,
they're not going to change, because they're saying they're changing but they're not actually changing, because if they change they will try. They wouldn't go back to square one again. And I think that's why it's important. Like, for example, me and Nafis, I might say to Nafis, or he might say to me, I didn't like that, so at least we both know going forward we're not going to do that again, and we don't do it again.
And you've seen this, communication helps a lot to deal with the matters. Like, it's not necessarily everything you do I like it and I do you like it. There are things which we don't like from each other, but when we communicate, you say that I don't like this, and then I know that she doesn't like so I should avoid that. And same way, if you know something that Aunty doesn't like it, then you will probably avoid it, that it shouldn't happen. So until you communicate with each other and tell each other what you like and what you don't and what can be avoided, then...
But you know what, some men, and I'm sorry to say this, a lot of men, and Lafise can be like this sometimes, they don't want to communicate, they don't want to share how they're feeling. And it's like, just tell me, like, then I can help
Especially men,
A lot of men, women can as well, but there are a lot of men who will just never say or never communicate and expect you to just know what they're feeling. But no one, even if, you know me, you know your son, but until we actually say to you, or if he says to you, Mum, I don't like that, you're not going to know, just because you're his mum, or I'm his wife, or it could be, brother-sister relationship, whatever relationship, you're not going to know, because we don't know what's going on in your head.
And we also should understand this, that we say that they don't, but the truth is boy has the more pressure, more work to deal with the relationship, because he has mother and wife. He want to see the happy both of them, but if they don't get on with each other, it's hard for him. I know that right and wrong, he should know that who's right and who's wrong, and there he should be balancing that way.
But then I think that's wrong though, because then that means if he's feeling pressure, either the wife's putting
but I'm
pressure on him.
saying that it shouldn't happen.
It shouldn't happen.
That's what I'm saying.
But
that it shouldn't happen, but that's what's happened.
Yeah.
But
that means that one of the person in that relationship, the mum or the wife, is putting pressure on them.
That's right.
Because otherwise, why is he feeling
pressure? That's what
pressure?
I'm trying to say, that we should think about this, that we shouldn't, neither the mother, neither the wife should put pressure.
And whoever it is, wife or mother, shouldn't say if should make you choose between the two.
Yeah.
And also they should never like manipulate the situation going, if you, for example, if you don't do this and I'm going to be really upset or whatever, neither wife or mother should do that, because just like you wouldn't do that between husband and wife or mother and daughter or mother and son, or just anyone, you wouldn't do that between, you know, it's like, oh, if I said to Nafis, if you don't do that, I'm going to be really upset with you. If you let your mum do this, I'm going to be really upset with you. I'm not going to talk to you. Then automatically he's going to feel like, oh my God, now I'm going to have to.
Yeah, he's going to have pressure. Yeah. He might make mistake to make the decision.
Yeah.
So,
but I think but I'm talking more about husband and wife, that the husband should, regardless of if they're afraid to communicate, they should tell their wife, or the wife should tell their husband how they're feeling, because then no one's going to be able to get better, or they're not going to be able to. I've seen it so many times in relationships where the girl has come to me and said, but he's not telling me how he feels. And I'm like, well, he needs to, otherwise you're not going to know how to, if he doesn't like you cooking that certain food, or doesn't like you, I don't know, going out with friends because of a certain reason, he should tell you that. And then you're gonna continue doing it until he tells you. You know, there's been some times where Lafisa said, oh, okay, actually no, I can't even use Lafisa as an example because we communicate. But they have, like, you know, the other day where you said, well, you didn't tell me that, so now I know I'm not gonna do that again. So, but then he goes, but remember he said I shouldn't have to tell you. But no, you should.
No, he said that I should automatically know. But some of the things which are inside of your head,
you don't know.
You're going through, they won't understand, even though with your action, with your things.
Yeah,
but
you still don't know.
Until you speak up.
The only person who knows is the person who's going through it.
We won't understand. And that's why we should be telling and speaking.
And I think that's why a lot of divorce happen, because even if it's a really little thing like, oh, I didn't like how you made my tea, for example, they're going to continue making it like that, and you're not going to enjoy it. And then in an argument, you're going to shout, going, well, you don't even know how to make tea for me. Like, you can't even do that one thing. And they're going, well, you never told me that.
That's right.
So why are you bringing that up in conversation?
Or if somebody doesn't like as strong and the other person is making it, you know.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's gonna, until they're not gonna tell the person.
And it could be really minor, but those little things later on get built up, then get brought up in a conversation when they're arguing.
That's right.
And then they're bringing up all these 100 different things that are going on, which when the issue that was...
And even though there won't be issues, but they will be linking it to other stuff.
You can't do this, you can't do that, or you couldn't even do the bed in the morning, you couldn't do this.
And always should be appreciating each other, encouraging each other for wherever they need to be, and that's how the relationship.
But I think sometimes as well, yes, communicate. But if you don't want to communicate there and then say, look, I don't want to tell you right now how I'm feeling. Yes, I am feeling sad, or I'm going through something. When I'm ready, I will tell you. Because then, that stops the whole, what's wrong? Tell me why you feel like this, you know, or whatever. But now that I know, okay, he said he's feeling like this, I'll ask him maybe tomorrow or a couple hours, or if that person needs a couple hours. Then again, because again, if Nafis is feeling down, for example, and I keep saying, what's wrong, and he doesn't want to talk to me about it, until he tells me, look, Aisha, look, I will tell you, just not right now. But again, that could cause issues.
But you will keep asking until he says that I don't want to talk about this right now. I can talk about it later.
Yeah.
And
that stops the whole asking and arguments and
that sometimes causes more problem and more argument between you. Okay, why you're not telling me when the person is
confused. Because obviously they're doing it out of love to be like, what's wrong? I want to
And also,
help you.
if you need to adapt and change something for the other person, and you easily can, I'm really into this, that if you really easily can change that habit or the thing you do, and the other person, like I'll give example of Nafis's gym.
Yeah.
Nafis used to go gym after work.
Yeah.
And now, because he wants to spend a bit of time in evening with you or whatever the reason, he's changed that to
go in the morning.
Going to the morning. And you both probably had a conversation about this, or can you do this? And he changed it.
Yeah.
You know, and this is little example, but like this, if there is something you don't want to do or do on that time when you do, and the other person should be telling you or explaining to you or having a conversation about it and solving it. So these little issues, when you communicate and resolve it with each other,
you actually need to work on it,
and you need to then these things, then this relationship gets better and stays positive. And
I do think as well, actually, I learned, but this podcast called the Digital Sisterhood Podcast. So she's made a game for Islamic relationships, basically, where it's before you get married, you ask each other, I think they're cards, and they're all about how you want to be in a marriage, how you want to be as a person, what you see in your future, what is your thoughts on Islam, and all of this and that. And she goes, it's such a great game to do before you get married to the person, because then you get to know what they want, who they are, if they're actually bothering about their deen, because some people might not, they don't really care. And then, or what they, kids-wise, family-wise, career-wise.
All those basics.
So she said, and she's made this game out, and she's... I think it's a pack of cards, and then you just ask each other loads of questions, and that's a really good way to get to know someone.
Yeah.
And you don't even need months and months. You could do that over a couple of weeks. Or
and you can explain to each other. Like for example, you're saying for kids, if the other person doesn't want kids, it makes before marriage. If this happens, then it makes it easier for you to make decisions whether you are going to.
Yeah, because if they're like, I don't want children for the next 5 years, but you want to have children right away,
and then
you're like, but then maybe you might be like, okay, I can make that compromise.
Yeah.
You want children, but don't right now. And
lots of things can come up with where you can come, and then you'll know that other person can compromise with those things or not. If they do, then
and how they deal with the situation, because it could even be like finances. If the girl doesn't want to work, and he's happy to provide, then at least you know, okay, I don't have that pressure. I have to work. Going when I start marriage, or equally, the man might find out actually she does want to work, and if he's okay with that, he might say, actually, no, I don't want you to work. I want you to stay at home.
No, all those issues which can come into your marriage life.
Exactly.
You should be discussing.
So I think it's quite a good thing.
Guys, I really like that.
Yeah, a good thing. Because I remember actually before me and Hafiz got married, we had I didn't know about this game, but we asked each other what kids, would you see yourself in 10 years? Where do you buying a house? Just anything career-wise. What do you want to do with your life? We asked all these questions so that we knew, I knew, okay, this is the type of person that he's going to be. If the type of dad he's going to be, the type of husband he's going to be, the type of son-in-law, everything. And then he saw exactly the same. And then also then we knew, this is definitely we're definitely going to go forward. Because if there was one thing where, and we'd made compromise as well. So he said some things and I was like, okay, I guess I can compromise, and he did the same thing. And that's how, alhamdulillah, our marriage has
before
worked.
Starting marriage, if you do make these compromises, then it's well and good, because obviously you'll know that you can have the good relationship, and you won't have to worry about the stuff you like or don't like, because you already discussed with the person.
And it doesn't have to be a serious thing, make it fun, make it lighthearted. Just ask a few questions. It doesn't have to be interview. We're going to sit here for 2 hours. I'm going to ask you all the questions.
And also, everybody is not perfect. Everybody has goods and bads in the person. So you should be able to understand that person and do the things however you can manage with each other. And that's how
there was one, actually, I'll say that there's one time I really, really want children, and alhamdulillah, inshallah we do. But there was one point where I said to Nafis, I don't think I want children because of when I found out it might affect my health and all of this and that. And he was like, and we had that conversation, but it was just in the moment, like, oh, I don't know if I want to put my child through that, if I want to put myself through that. I might not even be here for me to bring up the child. That means you'll be a single dad. All of this conversation we had, and there was a good amount of time for a month where I was like, yeah, I don't want to have children. And I kept saying I don't want to have children because I was scared. But deep down, I do want to have children, but obviously I have that thought that I might not be here, or I might not be well enough to look after them, and it's not fair on children being raised with an ill mum, and all this and that. So I was thinking, and then we had a conversation, and then, so even though you might say something at the start,
you had discussed,
you might have a conversation at the start, but then later on it might change. But talking, why do you feel? Because he said, why did you say? Because you've always wanted children. I said, I do want children, but I'm just scared. And that was it, really. Not that I didn't want children, I never want children. It was because I'm scared. And then obviously when we talked about it, then I was like, oh, I'm just being silly. Of course I want children. Like, if it's meant to happen, it's meant to happen. But we should be allowed to change our thoughts, but then you have to give a reason why. It can't be just because I said so. Or because I don't want it. It's what I think. There was a reason why I was feeling that way. And he understood that. If he reacted like, what the hell, I can't believe you just said that, this is it, you said all that, you lied, and started, then it would have been different. You knew that person will be understanding that if I change my mind in certain things, or ask him to compromise. Because even if he was like, should we, like, after the conversation we had with the doctors, he said, I don't know, like, he was worried as well. He was like, we're definitely not going to have children now, like, maybe let's wait until we're... So we both were in the same, but I verbally said it more than he did. So actually when we spoke about it, he was like, yeah, I was thinking that as well. But I still really want... So again, I didn't know that he felt like that. He didn't know I felt like that until we actually talked about it. Yeah. But no, I do want children, so inshallah.
Inshallah, just pray for them.
But anyway, we wanted to keep this one short and sweet, although divorce is not really a sweet topic to talk about, but communication, I guess, is the main thing in this. And yes, divorce does happen, and if you're not safe, if you're not happy in the relationship because the person's not giving you what you want, or is not changing and is manipulating you, or is hurting you, like, if you're...
And same in other way, if there is little things you can compromise with, then you can save your relationship, because there isn't any physical or mentally or emotionally abuse, but just little things making this relationship end. So you should try to consider that if you can compromise.
Exactly.
But same like Aisha said, that if there is something is going to be worse for you, or destroy your life, or physically or mentally or emotionally abuse, you're going to have to deal with
divorce is probably the best option.
Best option
for that. But inshallah, all your relationships are, filled with love, happiness, and success. May Allah give that all to you. But
and Allah guide us all.
And pray. And pray. If you're in a situation where you're like, I don't know if this relationship will work, pray to Allah, and He will help you and guide you, inshallah. Okay, so I'm going to end with this again. And what was it? I can't remember. My brain's gone all weird. Okay. Once you begin to see everything beautiful as only a reflection of God's beauty, you will learn to love in the right way. And that's actually talking about divorce. That's really weird. Just reading back now, that's really similar to what we were just saying. If you give lots of love, love will come back to you.
And guys, also we're gonna ask again that this is the 6th episode, and if you want us to do more episodes, because we are thinking that if you really support us and you want us to do instead of 6 and 8 or 10, then we can make 8 or 10. But we do need your support and encouragement about this. So inshallah, we will be carrying on.
So make sure you comment saying, please give us more. And then we will give you more.
And today's word is?
Today's word is... should we do love?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was saying in here, love. So if you got this far, comment love down below, and if you want us to do more episodes. Again, thank you so much for all your support. We really do appreciate every one of you, and we will see you next. Oh, actually, well, we might see you next week. I love it.
Love it.